Okay, guys. I'm an exhibitor, so I've been with Rosen about 17 years now. So I have been in where you are right now, and it's a very overwhelming place. We're going to talk real quickly about things that perhaps you want to do and perhaps you don't want to do. I'm going to let you in on the things that you should bring that will probably get you out of more jams than you know. Booth construction, and we're going to keep it real simple and cost effective, and designing with storage and print materials. The overall thing that I want to start my portion of the talk with is the concept of branding. For those who don't know what it is, branding is the whole package. So think of yourself as the domino game. Everything relies on the thing in front and in back of it. Your paperwork, the way that you're dressed, the way that your booth looks, the way that your product looks. It's all a part of branding. So that's the overall term that everything boils down to. Okay, I'm going to start with the show toolbox. Bring S hooks for hanging things, zip ties for everything. My booth is put together with zip ties because, as Rebecca told you, you're not allowed to bring power tools. I found that when I was constructing my shelves and different things in my booth, I would pre-drill a lot of the holes, and then rather than using screws, which I inevitably would always lose or misplace, I just constructed my booth on all of my display pieces and shelving all zip tie together. Bring duct tape because every once in a while you'll be putting up a drape on your table or a tablecloth and the son of a gun slips and it can just be very frustrating. So bring duct tape because it just everything sticks with duct tape. Extra light bulbs and extension cords, hair clips, safety pins, straight pins, paper clips, a sewing kit. Think of yourself as MacGyver in training because that's pretty much what you have to be. Regular hand tools should be pliers, scissors, screwdrivers, ratchet screwdrivers so that your wrist doesn't get sore with either the Phillips tip, which is a crisscross tip, or just the straight tip, and double-sided tape. Just in case you get into a panic while you're there is a Home Depot, a Kmart, an IKEA, a Burlington Coat Factory, a CVS, and a Staples all around the convention center. You would need to drive to the Home Depot and the Kmart and the IKEA, but Burlington Coat Factory, CVS, and Staples are located within walking distance.
The Kmart is in the
Burlington
convention center complex, so you don't have to drive to that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you. You're right. All of those things you can get quick shelving unit. Well, the Kmart you can use for quick shelving units, tables and step ladders or vacuums. The Burlington Coat Factory, if you run out of draperies or tablecloths, CVS, light bulbs and things of that nature. Same with Staples, but all of these stores do run out of things.
Yes,
They
they
don't
do.
carry a lot of stock. And certainly, if your setup is later rather than earlier, you will miss out on a lot of it. But just to let you know, do not bank on these stores, but you do have these stores available to you for last minute panic runs. You'll also have a Macy's there, but that gets kind of costly. So I don't know if you necessarily want to depend on that. This is a really exciting booth. You'll find that this person probably this is their first wholesale show. This looks like more of a retail booth. Retail is a completely different animal than wholesale. This is just a really big, not in your best interest kind of booth. Too much stock, not enough access to the stock. Lighting is a mistake. The grids do not look professional. Again, this is a great retail booth, but it doesn't translate to wholesale. The main thing I always tell people when they're designing a wholesale booth, design your booth like the store that you're trying to get to write orders. You want to keep it clean, you want to keep it easy to shop, well lit. Um, as Rebecca was saying, lighting is so important. My theory with lighting is you don't want to create any shadows. You want things to be evenly lit for your booth, like one even flow of lighting. And then if you choose to go back in an additional light important things, that is a great, great tool. But try to keep your shadows down to a minimum. What these people are also using are pedestals. These are easily collapsible. A lot of them pack into each other or pack flat, and the top of the pedestal where you put your things is the way down of these pedestals. So this booth would go up for the most part very, very easily. And that's really something you want to keep your booth complementary to your product. You don't want people necessarily to walk by your booth and say, oh my gosh, look at their display. You want people to walk by your booth and say, wow, look at the product. Because if they're saying, wow, look at the product, they are in fact saying, wow, look at the display. Your product is what you're selling. Your display should enforce your product and enforce the type of gallery that your product can be shown in. Next, thank you. Especially in jewelry, or people who do not have things that they will be displaying on walls, photography can be a wonderful addition to your booth. On this particular one, great photography really shows off the organic nature of their jewelry. The displays are very, very simple. They show everything cleanly. So as a person is walking down the aisle and bouncing their head from side to side, this is an eye catcher because it's not so overpowering that the person wouldn't want to walk up into your booth and take an additional look at your work. Also, the wonderful fact that they covered up the majority of the gray curtains. They only have a hint of the gray curtain in the back of their middle photo. What the gray curtain looks like, it's almost an iridescent gray. So what happens with the curtains that you're walking into this booth getting? The lighting both is absorbed by these curtains and also it ends up bouncing off of the curtains. So between being absorbed and bouncing off of, it literally makes the lighting that you are trying to use null and void. Also, the convention center itself will suck the lighting up into the dark places. So you will have to invest less in your lighting if you pay attention to the walls and the treatments that you're using within your show booth. A lot of people simply hang additional sheers over the gray curtains, and you can either use the pole like they have here, the poles that you get at the trade show, or myself, I simply tack shears up along on top of the grays and I use straight pins. So that way at the end of the show or the beginning of the show, they go up easily, they come down easily, and it's real cost effective because the shears are not very expensive and they pack easily and they're light.
Stacy, if I could interrupt for 1 second, there's two things that I forgot to include here that are important. One, there's something very important missing from this person's booth. It is their company name. They don't have their sign for some reason. Maybe it's out of shot, but I don't think so. And if it is, it's in a place where it's not easily seen. So these photos on the back wall should have had her company name and her booth number visible in them. Um, because in this picture we have no idea who this is, or what booth number we're looking at. The work is beautiful and it may be enough to go in, but if someone is on the hunt for a particular company that's on, they're running through their list of people they need to see first, they might look at this and say, oh, that's interesting, I'll come back to that later. But if they don't know the company name or the number, they're not going to know who to write down and say, I got to come back to that later. Or maybe this was the person they were looking for all along and they just passed it over completely because they couldn't identify it. And the other thing we forgot to mention is fire hazard. Your drapes need to be either of synthetic material, or if they're of organic material, they need to be run through the wash with a fire retardant. You can get these at a lot of hardware stores or online. There's a product called Firestop. It's not very expensive, and you can just like RIT dye, you can run it through the washing machine, and it protects the fabric. Um, you are going to want to either have a certificate when you purchase the drapes or the fabric that says it is what it's made out of, what the material composition is, fiber composition, or if you're doing the fireproofing yourself, cut a little swatch out of the fabric and bring it along, because if the fire marshal comes by and needs to test the fiber, he may have to just cut it out of your booth and quickly light the piece of fabric and see if it how quickly it burns. Um, I will say that's not something to be overly stressed about. We almost never have that happen, but it can, and it is procedure of the facility to make sure that people's booths are not highly flammable. Um, so just wanted to bring that up. Go ahead, Stacy.
And as Rebecca was saying, that center, the sign issue really could have been handled very easily with that middle image in this particular display, because that middle image is getting so much attention anyway that she could have just scooched that middle one down by a few inches and put an additional sign up. So, but other than those few things, this is a really nice, clean display. It really works, and she did a nice job. Next image, please. By all means, don't be immodest. If you have won awards, absolutely, positively let people know that you have won those awards. We do run niche. If you are a niche finalist, make sure you hang out anything that would relate back to niche or American style. Or any other show that you've done. People love to carry award-winning artists, and it gives them something to discuss with the people who are interested in buying your work from the galleries. So, getting back a few points, there are different ways to display your work. There are cases and racks. There are waterfalls for people who are carrying textiles. Those are racks that hang away from your wall, like a waterfall. Those predominantly would be for fiber artists. There is shelving, wall displays, and hanging product directly on the walls of the booth. There are so many different types of displays available. Check out the different opportunities and see what would be best for showing your pieces. Try not to keep your displays over cluttered with product. I understand that you're very proud of your product and that you want to show as much as possible, but this is not a retail type of venue. Sometimes less is more, to let people know that yes, this particular coffee mug can be done in this series of finishes, and having a sample of the different finishes that are available. Um, Again, you only a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 15 or a 10 by 20 can be a lot of space, and yet it can be a small amount of space. I have come to learn that in my own display, although I take a 10 by 10 inline booth, which means I'm in the middle of an aisle. I don't have the end caps. For my particular merchandise, I've cut back the amount of items I display. So although I have a 10 by 10 booth, I drape off the last 2 feet of my booth in the back and use it for additional storage. I use it to store my cartons in because I drive my things to the convention booth. So that way, that gives me a place to put all of my bins and my back paperwork and my coat. So none of those things are littering the show floor. So when you're looking as a as a possible buyer at my booth, you are simply seeing the product and the display. You're not seeing all of the other things that I utilize to do business on that show floor. You're not seeing the boxes of catalogs, you're not seeing clipboards, you're not seeing my pocketbook and the place where I sit. Another point that I would like to make is the way that you choose to dress on the show floor. Okay. The majority of the people who buy at the Rosen Show are established galleries. They buy a good amount of material and work from artists here. Their galleries are eclectic, fine-tuned, really beautiful places to buy merchandise in. Therefore, when you sell to them, I suggest for women, rather for men, business casual to look neat, chinos, shirts. You don't have to wear a tie or a vest or a jacket, but you want to look professional. For women, no blue jeans. Again, nicely tailored trousers, skirts, boots, leggings. You want to look like an extension of your art and you want your art to fit into these galleries. So try to do an overall presentation, and that presentation should be continued with the way that you dress. I think I've covered everything and we're getting to like the last 5 minutes. So Rebecca, I think maybe we need to take some questions.
Yeah, before we go into questions, I just want to go over some upcoming important dates. You guys will be getting a series of exhibitor countdown emails. You may have already seen some of our monthly newsletters that are like pre countdown, just sort of getting you thinking about how to prepare for the show. But just after the holidays, we'll start a 6 week countdown to the show. And it's very important that you take the time to read those because they frequently uh, include important tips and reminders about important deadlines. Um, Today is the last day to advertise in the buyer's guide. If you have that in your budget, you're going to want to call or email your exhibits rep to say, hey, please give me a call real quick. I want to save my space in the buyer's guide. The artwork doesn't need to be with them for a couple days yet, but you do need to hold your space. And they will probably take it tomorrow too, to be honest. December 8th is the last day for you to update your e-booth listing, which I'll give you guys a preview if you want to take a look at that. That information is used to print the buyer's guide. So you need to log in there. The information came with your emailed booth confirmation, and update your booth, your company description and your product categories and things like that. Because we use that to make the printed guide. You have to register for your badges, both your badges, your assistants badges, and your guest badges need to be entered by January 15th. Only the exhibitor badges that are entered by the 15th get mailed in advance with your load-in pass. Everybody else picks theirs up on site. January 25th is the discount for Hargrove. So since everybody needs electric, everybody should be turning their paperwork in by the 25th. Because the price goes up significantly after that. You don't want to wait to the last minute. And you certainly don't want to do it online or when you get there, I'm sorry, on site, because then they have to scramble to accommodate you instead of planning in advance, and you might be waiting a really long time to get someone to help you with lighting or cases. So plan ahead and get that done. Also, that's the last day to book your hotel within our block. All our hotels, we've stayed at them. They're all walkable to the convention center. They're all great, and you get a discounted rate off of what you would for those same rooms in the same hotels that week. So we negotiate that for you. February 11th, if you forget by January 15th, you can do your badges by the 11th, and they'll be available for on-site pickup. Anastasia brings up a really good point. She said that she's looking at the list of prohibited tools, and ladders are in this list. When the restrictions page mentions ladders, they mean lay against the wall upright ladders, that like the big ladders you use for painting your house, or painting a room. Little step ladders are totally fine. And again, if you're stepping on your chair, just don't let me see you doing it. If you're just reaching to hang something over the rail, like that's okay, but it's not safe. We don't want people doing that. So um, just bring a little folding step ladder if you can. There's little collapsible ones that are only a couple dollars. You can find those usually at like Five Below. Or what kind of synthetic fabric do you recommend, was a question from Jamie. Anything that's got polyester in there, if it has a blend of polyester or rayon, the idea is it's really any synthetic fiber. If it's got enough in there that it melts as opposed to starts catching fire, that's what they're looking for. They want synthetic fiber that melts instead of spreads fire. Rachel asked, how big should S-hooks be? There are actually free S-hooks available from the decorator if you don't have any. They have a couple boxes there. Don't depend on them being there, but if you find yourself in a pinch and you need some, you can always go and ask for them. They're just simple metal hooks in the shape of an S, and the larger hook size is I think a 3-inch diameter, which is about how thick the
Yeah.
crossbars are. And then the smaller hook is what you would hook your sign or whatever you need to hang on there. She also asked, where can you get photo banners? One that we have used many times that actually they were kind enough to offer our exhibitors a discount, so you may want to use them, is a company called Post Up Stand.
Yep.
And that link this is the exhibitor resource center that I mentioned before. So you just go to our website, exhibitor resource center. And in here, you'll see, special offers. There is, I should have mentioned this. There is a FedEx discount for exhibitors as well for shipping through them. And then 10% off Post Up Stand. And they have a huge catalog of virtually anything you could ever want that's pop up, easy to travel, retractable banners. And the structure to hang them from. You don't have to get the structure. You can just get the printed fabric and hang that as well with a dowel. But there's many companies to choose from. If you have not received your exhibitor kit yet, you can download it from this site. It's right here, Hargrove Service Kit. And then also look at the exhibitor manual, which is sort of your handbook from us. Lots of information in there. And also look at your email booth confirmation, which has the link and password for getting into the Hargrove site. Erica asked, will the jewelry booths that are currently empty be filled? There seems to be a lot of empty spaces in my area. Thank you. Erica, yes, those spaces, we will take a look at the floor plan right now, and I can explain that. This is our online floor plan. It's a new Fancy Dan tool that we implemented this year. This is something we've never done before, and it shows you the floor in progress. So while this is a little bit scary in terms of from the show manager's perspective, because I'm letting you see my performance before, this is like my dress rehearsal. You're not, even before my dress rehearsal, I haven't even put on my makeup yet. You're seeing things behind the scenes. But the benefit to exhibitors is that there is no confusing where your space is, who it's next to, um, what else is around that area. You know exactly what you're getting because you're seeing the same thing that I am looking at. So we really wanted to increase the transparency of our sales process and how the floor is built from the first day that we assign booths all the way up to the show. What you're looking at though, the empties that are on the floor, this is completely normal. Between Christmas and the show, we add over 100 exhibitors to the floor. So this will pretty much fill up by the time February rolls around. So I would not be concerned about this. It's just something you guys are not used to seeing. When you get booth confirmations in the past, it is a blank a blank room of 10 by 10s. But now you can do things like go to, so I can get rid of this and zoom in a little bit. It can take a second because we have a lot of exhibitors on the floor. Other trade shows, they have, like Sony as an exhibitor, and Sony takes up, a quarter of the floor. But we have 800 or 1,000 little booths, and so it takes a minute to load. So here is Catherine Grisey Jewelry. Catherine can find her booth, know exactly where she is, how close she is to premiere. She knows who her neighbors are. These are all really cool things. And if you get to know your neighbor before the show, you can give them a call and plan to go out to dinner or say, hey, you bring this thing, I'll bring this thing, and then we'll share. So that's it. We really appreciate you guys joining us, and stay tuned. We're gonna send a couple more things your way that's just meant for new exhibitors to help you prepare. Remember, our next webinar is January 17th. That is on pre-show marketing on a budget. Definitely, please join us for that one. Very important. It's something that new exhibitors are really lacking in knowledge on, and they show up and they get so brokenhearted because, well, it doesn't seem like anybody wrote with me or anybody came to my booth, and that may not necessarily be true. What you do before the show really does, you get out of that at the show and even months after the show. So it's an essential part of your trade show exhibiting. It's not just what you do in your booth, it's before, during, and after. So everyone have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you in 2013.